She's Doing It Again, a Marvel fanfiction written by Hale_the_gay on AO3. Michelle Jones has been dating Peter Parker for around 3 months, and looking past society's stigma of having a boyfriend to cuddle with and kiss, she truly enjoyed it. She'd met his family, sweet Aunt May who loved her, and has met his pseudo-dad, Tony. But, oh boy, when she met Pepper Potts, she nearly passed out from excitement. She had managed to keep a cool composure, but couldn't hold back the grin she sent the goddess's way when she shook Pepper's hand. She'd been to the tower a few times to watch movies with Peter and sometimes Mr. Stark. This time, Peter hadn't invited her over, but she knew he was there, holed up in the lab with Tony. But MJ didn't like that one bit, because the stupid biology project they had due next week. So MJ set off the sidewalk towards the tower, her music blasting through her headphones and her head bobbing along. She walked through the entrance of the doors into the lobby and past the metal gator towards the elevator. She noticed security guards coming at her from behind, but just before they pounced, she ducked and gave a nod to Happy, who told the man to stand down. The elevator doors slid open and to reveal an empty box, as she stepped inside, taking out one earbud so she could listen out for herself. Friday, the penthouse, please," she called out to the ceiling. "Of course, Miss Jones," the Irish voice replied. "MJ, Fry." "Oh, sorry, MJ." Friday apologized as the elevator started moving up. The elevator made an unexpected stop, and in walked Miss Natasha Romanoff, framed in badass and MJ's eyes, the Earth's mightiest Avenger, wearing sweatpants and a tank top, her forehead glistening with sweat. It was obvious that the redhead had just gotten back from a workout. When Natasha noticed MJ, her face contorted into one of confusion. Who are you?" she asked. "No one you need to know about," MJ replied coolly, keeping her head bent forward. "Why are you here?" Natasha pressed, her hands silently moving towards the gun attached at her hip. "To visit a friend. Do not worry, Miss Romanoff. I am no threat. You can take your hand off the gun." Natasha did not take her hand off the gun. "Friday, who is this?" Natasha questioned the ceiling. "This is Michelle Jones. She is here to visit Spider-Man," Friday replied, keeping Peter's name out of the circle. "Damn it, Fry," MJ whined. "Yeah, that's me. Nice to meet you, Miss Romanoff." MJ held out a hand that Nat hesitantly shook. "Why are you visiting Spidey?" "A boyfriend," she replied, no emotion showing. "He's your boyfriend?" Natasha let a small smile onto her lips. "Is that an insult, Miss Romanoff?" MJ raised her eyebrow. "No, I'm just surprised. I would never thought a squeaky voice like that charmed the ladies. To your surprise, he's actually very charming. And short." MJ's face contorted into a small frown, which Natasha let a bark of laughter at. The elevator stopped and MJ hopped out, giving a salute to Natasha, who smiled back. "Bye, Michelle. Bye, Romanoff." MJ glided through familiar halls, moving closer and closer to Tony's lab. As she glanced at the art hanging over the walls, she saw one of her own oil paintings. It was a painting of a light-skinned girl, back facing towards the front with her head over her shoulder. She was grinning, cheeks rosy, eyes green. Her blonde hair cascaded down her back and freckles dotted her body and face. The background was of a beautiful daisy rose pink. A lone lavender butterfly sat on the girl's shoulder. MJ smiled in shock at the painting. It was one of her favorites, and she was glad to see when someone bought it. She just didn't know it was Pepper. She kept walking, keeping her eyes out for more paintings she might recognize, and ran into a tall figure. She stumbled back and looked up at the person. In front of her stood Steve Rogers, sporting a tad confused and slightly amused look. "I'm sorry, Miss Rogers. I didn't mean to bump into you. I was just looking to see if Pepper brought any more of my paintings." She played it cool. She had no love for Steve, but he was still a hero. "Really? Which one did you do?" he asked, surprised. The one in the back, with the blonde hair covered in freckles, with the butterfly." She threw her thumb over her shoulder, pointing towards the painting. "I love that one. Are you still in high school?" MJ nodded. "I can't believe you did that." "Yeah, it's one of my favorites. I'm so glad Pepper bought it." "Yeah, so why exactly are you here?" "Oh, I'm here to visit Spidey." "Why?" "He's my boyfriend." "I didn't know nerds could get such pretty girls nowadays." MJ crinkled her face in disgust. "Don't judge a book by its cover, Rogers," she said before walking off. "And don't act like a fucking perv." She finally made it to the door of the lab and punched in the code. The door opened and she saw Tony sitting at one of the tables, fingers moving across the board. "Run those calculations, Fry, would you?" "This problem has appeared to have caused a dent in the work," she replied after a few seconds. "Tony?" MJ called out into the room. He looked up, startled. "MJ, what are you doing here?" "I have a biology project due in a few days," she replied. "Peter was supposed to come over, but he didn't, so here I am." Tony pointed at the ceiling and MJ looked up. Peter was sprawled out like a starfish, snoring steadily. His back seemed to detach with every breath, while his hands and feet stayed. It gave her a minor heart attack every time to see him so close to falling. "I'll go get the broom," she said, walking out of the lab. She strolled out of the kitchen to see Sam Wilson at the stove while Steve Rogers sat at one of the bar stools, making conversation. "Do you know the painting in the hall? The one with the blonde girl?" Steve questioned. "Yeah, I really like that one," Sam replied. "Oh, well, Steve noticed her walked in. "Oh, hello there. I realize I never caught your name." "Michelle. And sorry to bother you, but I came for the broom. I have to get someone off the ceiling." "Sam, this is Michelle. You probably heard. She did the painting with the blonde girl." Steve spoke to Sam. "Well, I have to say, great work. That piece is just beautiful." Sam smiled at her. She gave back an awkward smile with no emotion back. "Thanks, Wilson." She moved past them and back into the room, where the cleaning closet lies. Michelle groans internally when she sees Clint Barton rummaging through it. She walks up right behind him and leans over for the broom. He looks up suddenly, noticing the arm above him, and turns. "Who are you?" he questions. "I just want to stop running into fucking Avengers," she whines. "That leads me to believe you're some kind of threat," he pointed at her. "I'm friends with Spidey," she sighs. "He's cool, a bit of an idiot though." "You got that right. Anyway, I just needed the broom, so I'll be on my merry way." She shoved past him and back there into the kitchen, then back into the lab again. "Got the broom, Tony?" she called out to him. "Get one of the poles over there on the wall. Tie some duct tape to it to make it long enough." She glided over to the wall, grabbed one of the metal poles with some heavy duct tape, and combined them. When she finally got the pole long enough to reach Peter, she started swiping at him slowly, trying to knock him off the ceiling. She made a couple hits and he woke up, eyes squinting at the bright light. He hunched into a crab position, stomach facing the ceiling instead of back, and crawled along it, avoiding the broom whenever it got close to him or made a hit, and he hissed like a cat demon. "Hey, Tony, my arm, The person who had just walked into the lab stopped their request after noticing the 17-year-old girl hitting someone on the ceiling with a fucking broom. "I guess I'll come back later," they said, and she heard the door shut once more. Her initial attempts were unsuccessful, and she managed to call in the big guns. "Tony, it's time," she said. The man gasped and looked around as if he was a toddler who heard a noise in the night and was trying to find the monster. "Are you sure, MJ? We can always threaten him." "You are too much of a softie to hold up any punishments. We need her." "All right, fine." "Friday, call Pepper." "Calling Pepper," the AI replied. "Is everything okay?" Pepper's voice came through the speaker after a few rings. "He's doing it again," MJ whined, drawing out her words. "Yikes. Sorry, I'll be down in a moment," she said, ending the call. Not too long after, the only two sane ones in the room heard clicking feet down the hall. The door opened, revealing Pepper Potts with a slicked-back ponytail and light blue pantsuit. "Oh, all right. Where is he?" Pepper asked. Tony pointed towards the corner of the room, where Peter sat, glaring at everything. "Hey, Peter. Can you get down from the ceiling, honey? It's creepy," she called out to him. Peter snapped his head over at her, eyes immediately softening. "Oh, hey, Pepper. Sorry for the bother. I'll just get down now." He jumped down, doing a backflip through his descent and landing in his iconic Spidey position. MJ and Tony glared in awe. "It's not that hard," she laughed. "Easy for you to say," Tony mocked. "He's like a demon with us."